I'm back with another one. I had made that video about the real Slim Shady, and then as I did that, I was in a place where I wouldn't normally be, and I walked into like I took a little bit of my own advice, and I got up into like a workout place, and it was like way across town where I wouldn't see nobody I know. And then strangely enough, the person that now runs that place was my former trainer, like before the pandemic, way on the other part of town. So it's kind of like a mat. It was kind of uncanny, but I was like sitting there at the studio, and it's like these like young attractive people, like working out and getting it on, and they're listening to drill music in there. So it's like that kind of goes to my other video where I was like saying that some of this like, because that would be like you would like appreciate them as being like well-to-do, or like maybe a little bit bougie, or like I think the word is there's a word called there used to be a word called not it's not uppity, but it's there's a word for like when you go to like the fancy grocery store and stuff like that. I'm gonna try to think of it by the end of this video, but that it was like those kind of people, like they got their life together, they're doing well, they're doing their thing, and they're young, sexy, and they look like that, and they feel like that, and they're listening to drill music like, yeah, I'm about to slide up there, yeah, and I got that fool right there, yeah, and then they're like, yup, and they're working out, they're like, yup, that's that stuff. So I'm like, how bigger of a dork could I feel like than to walk around thinking that I'm on some like some cool time, or like I'm on some G stuff, and then like the little old ladies, the little old sexy things are in there, and they probably already know more drill music than I do. So it's just to show you that we're in a mousetrap. But I wanted to say, like, that's actually a little bit deeper than you might think, because it does kind of go to where it's like I said in the other video that a lot of this, like this heinous stuff that's going on with this heinous stuff that's going on with like with violence is like it's really kind of sad, because like everyone's having a good time and partying about it, and then it's like the little old nobody that's getting laid out in the street. And I was thinking, like, I did that other video about like who is the real GOAT, who's the real badass. And I think actually if we were to take the biggest badass of all time, like of icons, there was a movie with the actor Ice-T way back in the 90s. I don't know what that movie's called. And in that movie, he was I watched it as a little boy. I had a friend when I was a little boy whose daddy lived in the next town, like an hour away, and I became friends with him because he had the coolest toy guns. He had all the water guns and all the they used to call them Nerf guns, like Nerf bow and arrow. These really cool like Nerf guns and toy guns, like when that was just starting to be a thing. And my mom wasn't trying to let me have any guns, to her credit. And then but my friend, he was cool, he had all the coolest guns, and so I became his friend. And then he also had his mom let him do anything he wanted to, so he also had the coolest movies. There's a movie called Low Down Dirty Shame in the 90s. Every movie from the 90s had a gun in it. If you back when they had movie stores, I would challenge you to go through a movie store and find five titles that didn't have a gun on it. So it was just nothing. At a certain time, they might as well just had a movie called Gun in the 90s, and it's just nothing but a gun right there. But it was all about guns in the 90s. And that movie Low Down Dirty Shame was like that. He had like two silver guns like in the picture, but that movie had yet a beautiful bad woman in there. Somewhere in that movie, she gave out her phone number, and me and my friend were damn near trying to call her that phone number to see if it was real, because that was a bad woman, and we had no business watching a movie like that at that age. But we were yet in no business around guns either. But I then visited him at his father, who was yet cooler than his mother, who let him do anything he wanted. And then his father was like a proper badass. He was like from Germany. He was like from one of the Slavic countries in Europe. And then so he had like skill working on cars, imported cars, so like your Mercedes and stuff like that. So he had his own high-end auto store in the Southwest where we were. So he had like I can only imagine what kind of friends he had and clientele he had. But he was all about guns, like the real guns. And he had this significant other who was she was really out of she was out of one of those movies that we had no business watching. Like she was like yeah, so these are the bullets that break apart into people. And like, so you know, if you're going into a grocery store, this was like back in the 90s before that crazy stuff was really happening a lot. And she's like she would have been ready for the smoke if it had popped off in the early 90s, and she would have had those whatever weird ass bullets that fuck you up. That's what she had. But my friend was I forgot where I was going with that, but my friend had the cool toy guns, and yet when we went there, they were yet all about guns. When like that family was like if you were to like trace the background of like someone that became like really dangerous in life, it would have been experiences like me and my friend had hanging out around his parents, where they didn't do anything illegal or that we weren't supposed to be doing, but they were just about that crazy shit like as kids. But when I was there, we were watching this film about I got to watch all the coolest movies when I was there, like especially Cheech and Chong. That's still a really cool movie, and I'm thankful for them to let me watch that, because that was a lot of fun. But they had this movie with Ice-T on there, and Ice-T was he was a homeless man, destitute, up on hard times, and he had enough, and he was about to commit suicide by bus, and he was about to walk out into traffic, and then this guy ran out there. And he was like, he's another famous actor. He was in the movie Menace to Society. He was the father of the righteous guy in Menace to Society. And he was like, hey man, what are you doing, man? He's like, come on, man, you need to come on with me, man. This isn't what you're supposed to do, man. Let me tell you something. I know some people, man. We can help you get together. We got a place. We could get away, get into the woods, get back to nature, and work this stuff out, man. So Ice-T took him up on this, and Ice-T is like in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of affluent men, like so affluent that they have weird tastes, like they're into weird stuff. Like I did that video about Lion's Heart, saying sometimes wealthy people are into weird stuff. And so he wakes up, they wake up in the morning for he gets there with the rich people, and then he wakes up for breakfast, and then like before they eat anything, they take him into this room, and it's full of like severed human heads in formaldehyde being preserved as trophies. And they're like, yeah, this is what it's about. We're here to hunt you alive, and we're about to eat breakfast, and you have like a 5-minute head start, and then we're breaking out the ATVs on your ass. And so this little old Ice-T, he ends up all these rich people with nothing better to do than to brutalize and murder him and preserve him as a trophy, have yet put him on his heels. And he yet finds a way to survive in the wilderness, and they have like these it's just like you can't make that stuff up without making that stuff up. But all I meant to say, like, that's sometimes what it feels like being a brother in the United States, in where I live at. Is like you got everyone, they're going hog wild, they're having a party, they're at the bars, they're at the clubs, they're listening to that crazy shit, and then you're minding your little old business, and then you're the very one likely to get fucked up in all this crazy shit, and you didn't have nothing to do with nothing. And you're just like that Ice-T getting hunted by all this rich, affluent, crazy shit that's on your ass. So maybe that's the real iconography of a badass in GOAT, would be Ice-T for that one. And Ice-T is also a smooth talker, so I'd say smooth talking might be one of your higher GOAT tiers. So shout out to man Ice-T for that. But I wanted to say a little bit, this is going a little bit deep, but I had talked in other videos about how, it's likely that human beings have been cannibals in the past, because if you just think about how hungry you would be in nature, you would have if you get that hungry, a human being would be as good of a food source as anything else. But then you would also need a check on that. So I think that some of our group politics that amount to, like, I think in the street sense, that would be like gangs, but then like in the above ground, which is no less ruthless, you would have like corporations, which I think that our model of, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the source on this, but I think that when you experience a corporation of some kind, that model is based on something called the Dutch East India Trading Company, which was like a high tier professional pirate venue that shaped much of our history. I can't speak a lot to it, but I know that the Dutch East India Trading Company, as it was referenced in the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, that's not made up. That's an actual, there was something along the lines of what would be that ruthless and efficient and cold as what's portrayed in that movie as the Dutch East India Trading Company. And I think that our corporate model is actually built on that. So you could reason that our corporate our different corporations, any venue that you frequent is basically pirateers. And that's actually how they talk about you when you're not there. Like when they talk about your income that they have designs on, when they talk about your business, when you're trying to pull up there as the building's about to close. Like I mentioned in another video, I think it was at Desiccated Heart, about the way that you experience someone's attitude if you call right up as the business is closing and the leverage is not there anymore. So they may yet be open on Google, as it says, but for their intents and purposes, they've shut things down because they're getting ready to close down. And that's when you really when you really understand the piracy and how it is to be about pirates. I've worked in different box chain companies doing different stuff that's like serving food and whatnot. And that's the way that I didn't get down like that. It kind of felt like that when people would call late, but I didn't get down like that. But that's actually the way it goes when people are talking, like the people that are making your food and whatnot. That it's really like banter among pirates, and they probably have about as much feeling for you as a customer as a pirate would. And then you have the that's the above ground. So they're still for whatever reason they have to appear legitimate. So they make up the rules as they go, and they switch the rules as they go enough to pass themselves off as legitimate, but yet they're not essentially different than what would be beneath ground. And beneath ground is maybe just a higher tier of that, where the rules change. When you go beneath the ground, you have things that are more severe. But you also have just a different a set of rules for it's a different ball game, but it's the same ball game, and it's actually a function of the above ground where it's serving that. You could say that they probably serve the same purpose. If you fucked around and you had like some people like above board, like your high ranking people in your best of the best in your area, and you fucked up and they knew you fucked up, and but they couldn't get to you with above ground means, I would be so bold as to say they can probably take care of you beneath the ground without anything. They have different rules for different baseball fields, is what I'm saying. So it's all the same thing. So you listen to like a lot of music and it's like, yeah man, this and that and this and that, and then fuck the cops, man, and then but they're not really different because they're enforcing the mores. A lot of I've said in another video that a lot of like your rebel types, even criminals, they can be as status quo, or like as they can be as what's the word for it? They can be as conservative as they can be, sometimes more conservative, because like what did you say? You said what? But you had said that before. It's like look at that goofy fool. Like I'm talking like a criminal. Like look at that goofy fool saying this and that. Like because it's conservative. It's like it's not liberal. Like hey man, it's all good man. It's whatever. It's like nah man. You said what? You said what fool? It's conservative like that. It's more so conservative than even like I would say is hard of a time as we give the Boys in Blue. I would say the Boys in Blue can potentially be more they can give you more time to explain yourself sometimes than someone that's calling a criminal. So what I meant to say is that a criminal and a police officer, the only difference is who you answer to, but it's still the same thing. It's another version. It's the above ground and the below ground. But it all works against the little old guy like Ice-T in that movie, and that's what it feels like. But I had also said that a lot of it's likely that we have been cannibals in the past, and then the different formalities that we have, like whether that be group politics, group identities, whether like a corporate or like below like a different type of a group, or like even like a lot of our political structure and our different what we call civilized. It's probably just to mitigate that savagery within us, because we yet have that. I would say that maybe you could reduce all human savagery to the simple fact that we used to maybe be food sources to one another, and we still exist that way within our instincts and how we really feel about each other. That's about how real it is. That's about how vicious it is. How could you kill someone that you've never said one word to before, that you never had anything to do with? It's because you might want to eat them. That's what the instinct is. But then we have all these different things that mitigate that, whether that be like what we call being civilized, or what we call like a brotherhood, whether that's a recognized brotherhood or not. Those are some of the things that check that basic propensity, but yet there is still that propensity and that appetite to eat one another. So the eminent scholar, one of the greatest scholars that I've come across, like a handful of really excellent scholars, and one of them is Dr. Wesley Muhammad, and he points out that some of our history, like around barbecue, like in the South, there's a connection between barbecue and lynching. Also enjoying barbecue at a lynch, but also no less than feasting on human flesh, and that Wesley Muhammad says that a human being has a destiny. Your body has a destiny, and there are timelines for coming into and out of existence that are within the broader cycles. And if you interrupt that, there's a lot that is released when you are managed to confiscate or steal someone of their actual cycle of life. So you're 30 years old, you're in perfect health, and your ass is dead right now. That releases a lot of energy that is profound. And we're so sophisticated now with the matrix apparatus that we can somehow harness that untimely death, that energy, as attention, as currency in different very sophisticated ways. You never underestimate how many ways a bloodsucker can use your blood. Never underestimate how many ways a vampire can use your essence. And it's the same thing with slaying one another, in that it is related to lynching, and it is related to barbecue. So when you walk up in that studio, that workout studio, and they're like, yeah, I'm on my trap shit, I'm about to slide on that crazy stuff like that, and these are some what is that word? There's a word for it's not hoity-toity, it's is it yuppie? Yeah, yuppie. I think that's the word. It's that you go into a yuppie when they're all good and they're all sexy and they're doing their thing and they're listening to that trap. It's like it's that barbecue. It's like let's go and barbecue some fools. And I think that's a lot of the dynamic. And I know I'm talking heavy with this, but it really is heavy what we're experiencing. You go anywhere and you hear this kind of stuff. So just a little bit of insight, but this is just for awareness, though, and no one's better or worse than anyone, because a hard beat is a hard beat. We all like a hard beat, but just being aware of these things, maybe we can. You can't, when something is that cold, like you listen to that trap stuff, that stuff's cold. You can't just throw that away. You have to the things that destroy us are the same things that can build us. So all I'm saying is, like, let's come colder, let's come cleaner, let's come slicker, that we don't have to be ugly, because there's not a need to be ugly. And the great Bob Marley said that there's a right way and a wrong way to do anything. So we can make all the hardest stuff without being ugly to one another. That's all I'm saying with this one. So peace.